Hello, and today I'm going to be showing you how to change the ring of light LEDs on your Xbox 360 Slim. I'm starting this tutorial with the RF board out of the console. There are plenty of videos online that show you how to disassemble the console, so make sure you have the board ready and then you can follow this guide. For this video you're going to need 0603 SMD LEDs. I found mine on eBay for a few pounds, but if you don't want to wait or you need more of them, then you can buy them off AliExpress in bulk for a lot cheaper. First, let's start off with something called polarity. Polarity is the indication of positive and negative on the LEDs. In the description below, you're going to find a diagram which shows which polarity is which on these LEDs, and also which is the indicator on the ring of light board. When you buy these LEDs, you're going to have a line and then a little shorter line coming out of the bigger line. The longer line on the LEDs pointing up and down is the positive end of the LED. As you can see on the Xbox 360 diagram, red is the polarity of positive, which is the longer line. So make sure when you're soldering that you're using the correct orientation of the LED to get the right signal. So now that you know all that, without further ado, let's get started. Before we can install the new LEDs, we need to remove the old ones. The method I use to do this is adding flux and then adding solder to each end of the old LED. Once each side is tinned up, you can move the iron back and forth, heating up one side at a time, and eventually the LED will just fall off. If you're a beginner, then I recommend you be careful with this, as there are many components around the LEDs which are responsible for other things such as controller syncing, so make sure you don't flow anything else off the board. This is going to take a little bit of time, as we do need to do it for 8 LEDs, excluding the middle single LED, so make sure to take your time with this and use my video as reference. These little bits of metal can be prevented by using extra flux to make sure that nothing sticks to the PCB that you don't want. Speaking of PCBs, did you know you can get your own printed with today's sponsor PCBWay? That's right, with their quick order services, all you have to do is upload the Gerbers for any PCB board and they'll get them shipped to you quickly and affordably. I've used them for all of my hardware projects so far and the quality is fantastic, as is their service. They also offer board assembly, 3D printing and CNC, making them a one-stop shop for all of your prototyping and manufacturing needs. Go check them out at PCBWay.com. You can see here I actually knocked off one of the little resistors which is responsible for the LED, so luckily I was able to put it back on, but otherwise the LED wouldn't have worked at all, and I would have had to either replace it or use another ring of light board. So just be very careful. Now that we're onto the middle LED, you can see it's one big LED, but in reality this is kind of a 2-in-1 module. When the Xbox 360 gets the red ring of death, it needs to be able to change colours on the LEDs. So although this is one module, we can replace it with 2 different SMD LEDs. I'm replacing all my LEDs to blue, so I'll need 9 blue LEDs and 1 red LED for the middle indicator. It's very important to follow the diagram I left in the description below here, as not only the polarity matters, but you need to know which one is the power LED and which one is the red ring of death LED. On this board, the LED on the left is the power LED and the LED on the right is the red error LED. Hopefully this LED is never going to light up, so I would just always make it red. And also if you sell the console or someone else ends up with it, it makes it a bit confusing if it does have an error code. The way I like to solder the LEDs around the board is by picking them up with a tweezer and then pushing one end into the solder whilst heating up the pad, and then once it's secure I'll go around with my flux and my solder and I'll tin up the other pad. It's important to make sure that the LEDs are flat against the board, otherwise you're going to get lots of bad connections, so what you can do is you can kind of heat up one of the pads and push the LED down with the tweezer to make sure it's flat. If you've got this far, then congratulations, you've successfully swapped out all the LEDs. Now another important step is to use some isopropyl alcohol and clean up all the flux. The flux is corrosive to the PCB, meaning over time it could cause corrosion and just generally could damage things, so it doesn't take long to clean it up. Use a little Q-tip and some IPA and get it all cleaned. With all that done, we can now look at the final result.